Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Investor Financing Podcast. Today's show is all about marketing and branding for real estate investors and real estate agents. Hands down, this is the most important thing. I was just listening to a YouTube video of a gentleman who talked about how he launched during the pandemic and really went deep on social media and how he launched and built a brand. And we're going to talk about marketing and branding in detail. We have a very great guest today. She's been a real estate investor since 1998. She's a podcaster, blogger. She writes articles for major publications in the investing space. She specializes in probate, which probate is a great way to get those really nice houses with good bones, but usually they're like 50 years dated with a lot of meat on the bone. So, if you're able to get these probate deals, those are usually really good opportunities for landlords and flippers. And so please welcome Sharon Vornholt to the show. Sharon is based in Louisville. Do I say it correctly? Louisville?
That's one way to say it. We kind of say Louisville.
Louisville. Louisville. I can never say
You'll never get that right.
I gotta be from Louisville to say it. Well, welcome to the show. It's an honor to have you here, and we're going to talk about some exciting things. So you got started in '98. Roughly in real estate investing. What were you doing prior to real estate investing, and how did you kind of find real estate investing?
Well, I grew up, my dad was a general contractor, and being the oldest of four kids and the most well-behaved, I got to go on job sites with him. So early on, I just developed this love of real estate and construction and those sorts of things. So down the road, I worked for some years in the medical field. Actually, I was a medical practice manager. And then I just decided I wanted my own business, and I opened a home inspection company in 1991. Now, mind you, I didn't crawl under any houses. I was just the owner. So my daughter and I ran that business, and we ran that business for 17 years. But about 1998, a realtor came in and asked me if I wanted to go to a RIA meeting. And I said something like, "What's a RIA meeting?" So I went to that meeting in 1998. I learned that you did not have to be a realtor to be in real estate. And so I invested part-time for 10 years. I kind of limped along, did some rehabs, got some buy and holds. And then I did that until 2008. And we all know what happened around 2007, 2008. And my skill, I'd say one of my most important skills was that I was a good marketer. So I was always able to source deals. But I knew that during that time period, I was going to have a hard time selling those things. It was hard for first-time buyers to get a residential mortgage loan, and I just did not want to hold those properties. So I segued into becoming an accidental wholesaler. I just started wholesaling. And in 2008, I also closed the other business, and that's when I went full-time into real estate. So it was just I was in a real estate related field, and then I went into real estate investing full-time.
And you did your fix and flips and your rentals, and really what you really were drawn to was to become a wholesaler because you just liked that business. You were good at getting deals. Mm-hmm. You didn't, and over time, so you really got into wholesaling. And that's kind of what you do today is you like to do the wholesale versus the flipping, right?
Yeah, I love rehabbing. We talked a little bit before the show. I actually love the process of taking an ugly house and making it nice and providing a home for someone. But it's a risky business. It's a lot of work, takes a lot of time, and hands down, if you can add wholesaling to whatever else you're doing, it allows you to earn chunks of cash relatively risk-free. It's pretty easy if you learn to be a good marketer.
That's awesome. So you have specialized in probate. Mm-hmm. I saw you had a course on probate investing on your website. Mm-hmm. Can you talk about where you teach other investors and agents, like what your kind of niche in the marketing space is and what that looks like? If if I were to go through a coaching program or one of your courses, what's the framework? Is it mailing? Can you kind of talk about that?
The coursework is for the course?
Oh, yeah. No, so I was saying I saw you had a probate investing course, I believe, on your mm-hmm. website, right? So that's just like the fundamentals of how probates work, how to go to the administrator or the executor and like marketing pieces to get in front of them.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
got it.
Right. So I tell people I was kind of lazy in a sense in that I didn't want to get in there and scrap around with thousands of realtors. So I always worked off market deals. I've never worked the MLS for deals. And I really found my place with off market deals because, well, you have to know marketing, but you have to also be able to talk to sellers, which is not always easy for people. It wasn't easy for me in the beginning. So my niche was off market deals. And from there, I segued into probates, which I found quite accidentally. When I started doing probates, there were literally, Beau, you might get 10 letters. A seller might get 8 or 10 letters. There was no one working in that space. And over time, I had to figure the whole process out. How do you find the leads? How do you market to these people? Because it's different. How do you talk to these people? And it was a long time before I actually put a course together. It was another 10 years before I said, look, I don't want people to go through what I've gone through. So let me put a self-study course together and then have calls during the course to keep them on track. So what I did in there, and I think which makes a big difference, I even cover mindset in there. How do you get over the mindset of, because a lot of people think it's weird, it's creepy working with these people, which it really isn't, because they have a problem. They have a legal problem that involves a property that they need to sell. So if you can show them how it works, how you talk to these people, quite naturally, how you market to them, and then give them everything they need to market, they'll be successful if they follow the plan. And that information is true for any type of off-market deals. If you put marketing systems in place, and you brand yourself, that's really important, because marketing is how you get leads and branding is why they choose you over the next guy. Then once you start to put those pieces together, it's really pretty simple.
So, okay, can you give our viewers and our listeners, give us a couple tips that you recommend? Like, let's just say we're talking to me. Okay, I want to sign up and learn from you. Mm-hmm. I've got good experience. Mm-hmm. I would say I don't have systems for lead generation in the single family space. Where do you start? Like, I understand real estate, I get it. It's probably what's lacking is the systems and the marketing templates to market to them. Mm-hmm. Like, are we going to start with direct mail, or where do we start usually?
You always start with direct mail. And I cannot stress this enough. I tell people, you got to remember somebody's mama died or their dad died. You don't want to cold call these people. I know people do it, but they don't like it. They don't want to get a text. You want to build a relationship with these people. And I think that's why I was always successful in this space. We talked about with buy and hold rentals, it's kind of a get rich slow thing. With probates, there's no really getting there first. They have to get ready mentally to sell. So your job as a real estate investor is to send them low-key direct mail pieces. And the overriding message of those pieces is, I'll be here when you're ready. So this is what I do. This is how I can help you. And today might not be the right time for you, and that's fine. I'll reach out next month. And along the way, you just kind of take them along a path so that when they are ready to sell, you're the person they think of, because you've done a good job up until that point. You've branded yourself as the person who's always going to be there. You should have a website, certainly, with some information on there, things like that. But it's really a matter of building that trust. It starts with those letters and how you show up. So branding at its essence is the way you make other people feel. It's not, with the physical attributes are certainly colors and logos and things like that. But at its essence, branding is the feeling you leave people with. And it's also, to put it a different way, it's what they say about you after you walk out of the room. That Beau is really a nice, solid, rock solid real estate investor. Or Joe over here, he never shows up. He never does what he says he's going to do. That's your brand. That's your brand and your reputation are all wrapped up in this one big ball of wax.
Okay, so let's just say, so this sounds really cool. So in your programs, do you actually have like the marketing pieces that we can we can use if we sign up, like where it's like kind
I
of templated and
I do. I have two sets of letters in there, mail merge ready letters, one for agents and one for real estate investors. The only difference is with investors, you're going to buy the house. With agents, they're going to list the house. Some agents are never going to be real estate investors, and they use it to list properties, which, by the way, if you're an agent and you're not marketing to probates, boy, are you missing the boat here. It's wide open field. And for investors, the same thing. Because remember, you and I know you're a good marketer. 90% of the people will quit on or before the third mailing. 90% of your perceived competition. Yet 81% of your deals will come at or beyond your fifth mailing, statistically. That doesn't mean you're not going to get deals earlier, but statistically speaking, you will get 81% of your deals on or before or after the fifth mailing. So you can see the big drop off there with your perceived competition. They're just not going to go the whole route.
I'm actually licensed. I'm a licensed California broker. I don't live in California, but I still use my license for some deals. But I'm also a licensed salesperson in Nevada, even though I've always had my license essentially. So I don't really practice. Once in a while I sell a house, or if I'm representing myself on the house I buy or whatever. But it gets me to think that my good buddy, his name is Ty. He lives in the Bay Area, California. He's what I call a hybrid agent, meaning he's an investor agent. And like, I love his business model. He does amazing, because it's like he solves problems. I can buy it from you. I can help you list it. And so a lot of times what he does, he ends up getting it in contract and wholesaling it, and he still makes a real estate commission too. It's amazing structures. I mean, I think so we could apply this marketing strategy as a hybrid version too, right? Like as an agent, like.
A lot of people do that. Now, I can remember even 6 or 7 years ago where that was a problem for agents in some areas. And I don't know if you remember this, but it was not well thought of for an agent to then say, well, or to maybe show up as an investor and then say, well, if that doesn't work, I can list your house. But today, it's very much a common practice amongst people that I know. And you're right. You go at it from, how can I solve your problem? You've got this house in probate. You need to sell it so that the heirs can get paid and the creditors can get paid. So that's the problem that you're there to solve. And if you can be super aware of going in as being the solution for that person that is best for them, then you've got it. You've got it coming from both sides, and it is a very profitable niche. I would go so far as to say my most profitable deals have always been from probates, hands down.
And it kind of depends on, I know by state and county, it could be a little bit different, like the rules of the probate courts and so forth. And obviously, if it's a living trust, most of the time they don't need to go through probate, but 90% of people don't have their properties in living trust. So probates are always going to be around. People are always dying.
Yep.
So you got to learn the framework of like what stage, like if they have a will, if they don't have a will, and all that good stuff. Do you do kind of a high level discussion in your programs?
I do, and I have a graphic in it for anybody that just wants kind of a down and dirty thing. There's a free resource on my blog. It's called, well, you can get it on the blog, the Louisville Gals Real Estate blog, or you can just go to probateinvestingsimplified.com/starter kit. In there, it'll have a sample letter. There's a graphic of the straight line probate process. It's state to state, they've got a little bit different rules about things, but the basic process remains the same. Somebody passes away, then the estate is opened, and then it's decided if there's a will, that estate is called testate, and like it would have said, Beau names this person to be in charge of seeing that the estate is carried out the way he wants it to be carried out. If there's no will, that's called intestate. And then the the court will decide who is the personal representative. So your personal representative, whether it's an executor or the administrator the court appoints, they are the only person that can sign on the dotted line on the real estate contract. So I call them the decision maker. So someone passes away, the estate is open, and then that piece of it is sorted out. Well, guess what? The next step is the assets in the estate are sold. That's when the property can be bought. And after that, once they sell anything that has to be liquidated to cash, like, it would be could be personal property, certainly real property. Then the next thing is the creditors are paid. So the creditors are anybody that money is owed to. It could be a mortgage, a car payment, credit card, but it certainly would be hospital bills, funeral expenses, nursing home expenses. So the assets are sold, the creditors are paid, and then and only then do the heirs get what's left. And that's the way it works in every state. Little nuances out to the side. But those heirs, you can see why the heirs who are at the very bottom of the list, they are so motivated to sell that property. They want to get it done. You're going to get more hugs at probate closings than you'll ever get at any closings in your whole life.
I remember like it was probably 4.5 years ago, 5 years ago. I have the one thing I was doing for just buying real estate, because I have my lending business. I wasn't really focused on being, actively, which I should be. But anyways, I have a motivated seller website. So somebody actually went on and did this was, Sell My House Fast, South Bend, Indiana, where I was buying real estate, and I had a website. And the gentleman filled out the form. And I like doing that too, because I always think you got to cover your bases of marketing, right? You should be doing a little bit of everything because people actually go online now. And so this gentleman filled out the lead form, and he's like, I want to sell I inherited my mom's house. And I remember I bought this bungalow house. This was, 5 years ago. The market wasn't crazy like it is today, but it was the cheapest house I've ever bought. It was a 700 square foot bungalow, 2-bedroom, 1-bath. It was dated, but anyway, I bought the house for $9,600, and I put in $5,000 or $6,000 to fix it. I'm in it at 15, 16 grand. And every day or every month when I get my property management statement, it's like $700 a month gross rent. So it's it's just like, why aren't I doing more marketing, right? Like deals like that. Why couldn't I? I mean, essentially, from what I'm hearing from you, Sharon, is that we can set up predictable marketing. And we know, hey, on 1,000 letters, we're going to get one deal. We're going to get X amount of calls. We're going to buy one deal. That 1,000 letters is going to cost roughly X, right? We can figure this out. It's not rocket science. It's just numbers, right?
It is numbers. And I always tell people you can use any company you want to use, but I've got some really good resources that I recommend where you literally can set it and forget it. You can have a credit card on file. You can call every month and say, send out my mailing. They now have a CRM that has a free version. Anybody that wants to learn more about that, y'all can email me. But it's all integrated. So it's easy. You go into a dashboard, you order your direct mail, you can skip trace from that dashboard. It'll take out houses that have been listed and sold. It really has never been easier. What we did for so many years was we cobbled everything together I remember when I had an old ACT database and we put every lead in there, and it got to be a jumbled mess of tens of thousands of leads. But you don't have to do that anymore. So whatever your strategy is, it's never been easier now to do direct mail. And direct mail marketing is the number one way you'll get off-market deals. And off-market deals, not that I don't love realtors, because I do, but you get the opportunity to get in front of a seller and essentially sell yourself by just going from a place of giving and helping these folks solve whatever problem they've got. A realtor's there to do their job, which is not always going to get us the best deal. Let's just face it. If we can get in front of the seller and provide a solution, give them a fair price for the house, it's a win-win for everyone.
Yeah, no, you're getting me excited because I'm like, I mean, I can basically plug and play, and then, I mean, the important thing is when somebody reaches out, you need to be on top of that, right? Like, because and so I can have the letters in the system. With the scheduled dates that they'll be mailed. It's all done automatically. Bill my credit card. And then are you having them typically on the letters call or email, or what options do you give them?
I give them every option. So you should have a lead generation website. That can be an out-of-the-box done-for-you site too, which I do recommend that you customize those sites. But don't reinvent the wheel for these companies that have spent hundreds of thousands of dollars figuring out where to place everything. But so I've have them go, they can go to the website, they can call, they can email, any of those things, they can text. People have different comfort levels. Some people will fill out a form. Some people will say, I'm not filling out that form. I'll do this. So give them every method of contact. And what I have on my phone is an app that costs $9.99 a month. It's called Sideline. It enables my cell phone to be two cell phones. Mm-hmm. So I put with Sideline, you can choose a marketing number with your correct zip code on it. And I put that on that number's on my website. It's on every marketing piece, because that way your phone can be your phone for, regular people. And if I get a call on that Sideline number, I know it's either Google Ads or a marketing person calling as a result of my marketing. But and then you can call them back from this Sideline app right on your phone. You just open that up and dial your number. Like always, it transcribes your messages. It gives you a voicemail. You can have a separate voicemail in there. Mine would say something like, "Hey, it's Sharon. I'm not able to take your call. I'm probably out looking at property," or something. But I think it's okay. It's great if you can answer your phone every time. But if you can't, if you can tell them when you're going to call them back, they're generally okay with that. I'll call you back before the end of the day, or leave me some times that are best for you. They feel like they've gotten the service from you. And with probates, they're not in a distress situation like a foreclosure. So if you have built this relationship with them with your direct mail letters, they know what you do. They know that you're not going anywhere. They're okay with waiting a couple hours for you to call them back. They really are. So, but that's the app that I've used for a long time. And I like it better than Google Voice, because it's not an internet-based thing. This is actually a phone thing. They call right on your phone through the app. It comes up Sideline call. And then once you make contact with that seller, you can put their name into your phone, and that's them calling you back the next time.
You're listening to the Investor Financing Podcast. We'll be right back after this break.
Hello, Beau Eckstein here, host of the Investor Financing Podcast. Are you a lender, real estate professional, or vendor that provides products or services within the real estate investing and business owner space? We are offering a few sponsorship opportunities to get in front of a highly targeted audience. If you're interested, please click the link below for further information. We look forward to talking with you. Thanks. Make it a great day. So your course first lays out like the probate process. Do you go into all this specifically, like your marketing, who you're using for your CRM, your mailing companies, your templates? So really, if somebody goes through your course, how quickly could they implement could they go through it in like a week or two and then basically start the direct mail process? Or
it's stripped down over 6 weeks. And I'll tell you why it's that way, Beau, is because I am the type of person that likes to go from A to Z and skip the middle. And if they don't learn the boring parts of this, like the basic terminology, so it's actually starting at week 1 till you get to week 6 is actually 5 weeks. You have to figure out where to get the leads in your area. And I tell you how to look for those. That's the one piece that requires detective work on your part, because there are over 3,300 counties in the U.S. and every single one of them is different. Some are online. Here in Louisville, Kentucky, they're in the newspaper. If you're in a city like Chicago where there's an open API, a lot of places in California have what they call open APIs. That's all I know is you can pull the data online and put it directly into a list. If you live in,
Sorry to cut you off.
That's okay.
You could probably start a search to see if so I'm in Las Vegas, Clark County. So I could probably do a search. Is there any recommended data providers that I could just buy those leads for instead of having to research it myself? Or do you just say you should research it just because they're going to miss
You should
them?
do it yourself, because a lot of the people that are claiming to have these leads, they're working obituaries. So you don't want to do that. That's way too soon. So Remember, they have to open the estate before they can legally settle the house, sell the house. So there's no hurrying up and getting there. But go online and search your county plus probate cases. That's where I would start. And here I'm in Jefferson County in Louisville. We have Jefferson County online records. We have all kinds of different things in there. They do not have probates. But you only need 4 pieces of information to work in probates. You need the name and address of the deceased, so the property address, and the name and address of the personal representative, the executor or the administrator. That's all you need, and unless you have to go to the courthouse, you don't need case numbers. You don't need, the date of death is irrelevant, doesn't matter. When they open up that estate, Beau, they're raising their hand and saying, I'm ready to move forward with the sale of the property. That's all you need. But yeah, you have to do a little detective work. You can look into buying the leads, but I found them to be very expensive, to the tune of like $5 a lead, and not always reliable leads. So you can certainly look into that. Maybe that's changed recently. But if you can get them for free, why would you pay $500 or $1,000 a month for leads?
Yeah, I mean, plus if you can get them for free, you could probably, since I have a virtual assistant, I could maybe ask my assistant hey, like I could develop the SOP, the standard operating procedure.
Yep.
Every week or every day, go on and pull the list, put them in the Excel file, and then I can take that Excel file and I can upload that or import that to the mail house, CRM, whatever, and then I could have the drip mail campaign already. All the messages are the same. It's on credit, and then it's going out, and then they go to my sideline number, or they could email me. I set up a nice website talking about, and usually you make a property, or not a property specific, but a kind of a probate type website.
I have a lead generation website with a probate page.
Okay.
So I think you can use the same website. You can't use the same website to sell property. It's only for lead generation. Some people try to put their properties they've renovated on the same website. And you can imagine if a seller comes back that sold you their property at a deep discount, and then they see you're selling it for, you're going to make $100,000 on it, they're not real happy. So don't mix those. But those websites are designed for off-market deals. So just have one website and then have a probate page that says, here's why I'm uniquely qualified to help you with your probate. So
you've had the most success in the probate space. Is there any other niches that you market to, or that you like?
I always marketed to out-of-state absentee owners, and I used to call them marketing money. I was never going to get rich on those, but they're postcards. So if you think, I had somebody say to me one time, I was telling the story about how I bought a property after 3 years, a single family house. And they said, I can't believe you marketed to someone for 3 years without knowing if you're ever going to get a deal. And I said, well, let's do the math here. So I sent 12 postcards a year, 50 cents a postcard for 3 years. You do the math on that. That was what, $18, and I made $14,000. Was it worth it? Sure, because I never did anything except set up the mailing. The mail house sent that postcard every month. So for most niches other than probates, you can use postcards. I recommend oversized postcards, the next size up, simply because they don't get lost. But for probates, you need to use a mail merge letter that says, Dear Mr. Smith, or Dear John, or whatever you decide to do, and it references the property. This person, when they open up this white typed letter, computer generated mail merge letter, they need to know that that letter is for them, that it doesn't say Dear Executor or something strange like that. It needs to be personalized so that they know you're there to help them specifically.
That's really good advice. I know this is going to vary, but what do you see across the board with your students and with your own experience on how many mailings does it take to get the phone to ring, and then how many times does the phone have to ring to? So what is it? Is there any KPIs that you've seen that, like, if you just so like people that are listening understand that this is a numbers game, it might take you 3,000 mailings to get one deal that you buy. I don't know. Have you seen kind of like I know it's going to be different by market, by
Right.
county, but what would you expect to be a reasonable expectation for somebody?
Well, there's a little bit of a ramp up period, and this is not just with probates. This is with any type of direct mail. I have a blog post on the blog somewhere that says something about statistics aren't sexy, but results are, and that gives the breakdown of how quickly you get deals. Because I've gotten properties on the first mailing, but statistically, you're going to hit that 5-month period, and it's going to just ramp up fast. Now, with probates, every month you're adding new leads to your list. So every month you've got to get to that 4 or 5 month period. And then every month somebody's going to be in month 5. So there's a little bit of a ramp up. But today, the results for direct mail are somewhere between 1% and 2%, which means 1 or 2, per 1,000, depending on where you live. And it's been a little bit tougher since you could sell anything that actually stood up as a house, for top dollar recently. But it's not always that way. And I would say to people, as the market changes, if you position yourself properly with probates and other off-market deals, you're going to be loving yourself down the road. So for me, when I was starting out and I wasn't as good as closing and talking to people, I might have to take 16 to 20 calls to get a couple of 3 or 4 to look at and a closing out of 1,000. As you get better at that, you'll be able to screen people more effectively. You won't look at properties that are not a fit for you. But generally speaking, I think it's about a 1% return, rock solid 1%, sometimes 2%. So on 1,000, and I never recommend people start with less than 1,000 mail pieces. If you can do 2,000, that's a great number to start with. That's easily a deal a month, and then you scale up. You'll get to where, as you go down the road, and these people are further in the probate process, that the deals will start to come faster.
That makes sense. So it's there, and you got to build on it. And then at what point after you? So in our campaign, after it's going to be set for a certain amount of time, because at some point the deal's probably either sold or something. So is that built in the framework of what we're going to?
Yeah. So there are in the series there are 6 letters, and then I have 2 letter ones, and one is I call it condolences, and one is no condolences. I'm a fan of using a letter that says, I understand someone has passed away. Just get the white elephant out in the room. But you can use the no condolences letter and just send a letter that doesn't mention that someone has passed away. But I will tell you, when they pick up the phone and call you, then they're going to say, how did you get my information? And why are you sending me this letter? See, I'd just rather address it up front. So you send a series of letters, and then you scrub your list. Now, this is where your VA comes in really helpful. I personally, I've got a couple of VAs in different countries. I've never been able to find one that really understood real estate in the U.S. In other words, I would look on the tax assessor site and look to see if the home had changed ownership. I would also look to see, in Kentucky, sometimes they put the executor as the owner of record, which I never understood during the probate period. So you have to be able to discern if the home has actually changed ownership. What a VA can do for you is you can say, go and look at each one of these records in the tax assessor site and tell me if the home has changed ownership. And then they'll give you back a list of maybe 20 or 30 or however many out of a couple of thousand. And then you go in there and you decide, did it really change ownership? Did it really sell? Or have they somehow done something like if you see that the executor's name is in there and that mailing is going to the executor's address, and you'll know that because that's the information that you need. Remember the 4 pieces of information, you need that. Then you can go, okay, this house is not really sold. But you want to take houses that are sold off your list. So you're constantly, in a best case scenario, you would do that quarterly, but realistically, people don't do it. So I tell them you run through this series of letters, scrub your list, and that'll get to be where you're scrubbing a portion of your list every month. So it's not such a massive job. And then usually then you start back over with letter 2 because you don't want to send the condolences letter again. And you do that. And mostly the estates will be settled in 12, 14, 15 months. It depends on the time. In the time when it's a seller's market, it's faster. If it's a buyer's market, it might be a little bit slower. But, year and a half, most of them are going to be sold. So your list is always, it's growing, but it's also dropping off, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But that was the way I handled with the VA. They could tell me, if the house had changed ownership, but they couldn't really tell me, did it really sell to a new seller or whatever. So that was the process I had have with them.
That's fascinating. I mean, we've learned a lot today. I mean, we could talk for hours, but I think at any point I'll just sign up for your course and I'll learn this because it sounds like once you get your systems dialed in after the 5 or 6 weeks of training, and you automate everything, you could literally spend 2-3 hours a week and the business is running. And then it's just a matter of being on top of the calls that come in and return envelopes so your VA can take it off the list or do what they need to do, right? And then you just go into the CRM mailing system and you're taking it off. So really, once you get it up and running, you don't have to spend much time, right? Maybe 2 or 3 hours a week. Is that
once you get your systems up? And I'll tell you, it wasn't always that way. And I'll tell you what, the other really big thing is, Beau, when I started doing probates in 2008, a white computer-generated mail merge letter was about $1.50. Now, think back, I don't know how much a stamp was. It was probably 25 or 30 cents back then, but it was costly. Today, with stamps at 55 or whatever they are, I don't even know exactly how much they are because I don't deal with that. But this same letter will cost you under $1 with the postage increase. You cannot do it yourself as cheaply as a good company can do it for you. Plus, it's automated. You don't have to cobble all these systems together anymore like we did for so many years. It's so much easier now.
And I think in general that probates aren't marketed to from investors as the other like absentee owners. I think it's probably and nobody's going to send 8 letters or 7 letters or 6 letters. They're going to send 2 and then get frustrated.
Well, and if you are sending, let's say, and I'll tell you this, a lot of people don't sell till around the year point. I have had so many sellers call me and say, my attorney called me and yelled at me, we have to get this estate closed. Because once, this is not something that I don't give legal advice or tax advice, but when someone opens an estate, they also have to get a federal tax ID for the estate, separate from any returns due for the person that's deceased. So they're kind of on a timeline to get this darn thing done. Now, they obviously have ways of getting extensions because if somebody's wealthy and they have a big estate, that can go on a while. But in general, people want to get it over with. It's within a year or 14 months of when they open the estate, they need to get it done. And these are some of the things that in my course, I tell people it's boring. You got to go through the boring terminology module because if they ask you about the letters of testamentary, you have to know what the heck they're talking about. You don't have to be an attorney and you don't have to have that level of knowledge, but you have to have some basic knowledge of the terminology and things like that. But then I think along around module 4, it starts getting into marketing and direct mail marketing and systems. And actually there's one company that I think is really the company to go to. They've just come out with the CRM. So I have to go back in there and update that and put all of that information in there. And like I said, you can use any company you want, but I do know of a great company. I do have a link where you can get 10% off your direct mail forever if you use this link. So I do have resources for people. What I found is people get stuck in, you say, go find a CRM. Okay, there's a million. How do I know which one is the best one for me? And then they get stuck over here. I don't know which direct mail company to use. So I'll tell people, here's a path to start you out on, and you find somebody better, different. Hey, that's fine with me, but I just want you to get started. I want to give you some resources to get started.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time. This has been awesome. I love talking about real estate and marketing and niches, and I think you did a great job and get to inspire us, whoever's going to listen to this or watch this in the future, to just take some action and just think about it as a pure, it's a process. It's not going to happen overnight. You can't expect to send out one batch of 1,000. Maybe you get lucky and get a deal out of it, but most likely you're going to have to send 4 or 5 of these batches to start getting these deals coming in. So you're going to spend a little bit of money, but it's really an automated process once you go through the training. So Sharon, where is the best place for people to, should they go to your blog and they can find all the links there, or where should we send them?
They can go to the Louisville Gals Real Estate blog. There's a link off of there to the podcast, Let's Talk Real Estate Investing. And there's a link off of there to the course, Probate Investing Simplified. And I do have that freebie over there they can get that'll get them started for free, the Probate Investing Starter Kit.
That is awesome. All right, everybody, I hope you enjoyed this. Let's think about probates. The market's changing now as we speak. So this is kind of the moment we've all been waiting for over the last couple of years. It's been a little bit challenging, but we're going to go from a seller's market to a buyer's market after 14 years or so. I think it's been there. So it's going to be, there's going to be some major transitions going on. I think for the savvy investors, it's going to create tremendous opportunity. But build your brand and learn your marketing, and follow Sharon's podcast and her starter course. It's free. See if you're into it, and this might be a good fit for you. But thank you so much, Sharon. Learned a lot today, and it was an enjoyable conversation.
Thank you, Beau, for having me on.
All right, and everybody, we'll see you on the next episode. I'm bringing you great guests. I hope you're enjoying this.